1971 to 1974. Strat-O-Matic Excel Carryover League. Brought to you by the Shrimp Trawler.
AL Championship, Orioles at Tigers.
Welcome back, baseball fans, to the American League Championship Series. The Baltimore Orioles and the Detroit Tigers. And, wow. It's been a fun journey to get to this point. One round to go to the World Series. And let's just look at the overall standings. And I might be able to go back and get some history involved in this as well. Tigers are the #1 seed in the American League. 14 over 500, playing .684 ball. Baltimore, the #2 seed, ousted in a mild upset the Oakland A's, as the A's roster seemed loaded, but they just could not get into this roll, and so it's the Oakland A's, the Detroit Tigers, and the Orioles. Those three teams have been to the last 4 World Series for the American League. 4 years ago, Tigers beat the Dodgers. 3 years ago, Baltimore beat Cincinnati. 2 years ago, the Tigers again lost to the New York Mets. And last year, Oakland lost to Cincinnati. The last 3 teams left standing in this American League again was Oakland, Baltimore, and Detroit. So this is not a fluke by any stretch. Let's take a look at the rotation. So both teams played a Game 6. Matter of fact, both leagues played through Game 6 exactly. All the divisional games, which means that the scheduled day 7 is a day off, and the teams pick up right away. League Championship Series will be 3 games, a day off, and then 4 more games. It sets up for an interesting rotation. Baltimore and Detroit will both have their aces. Jim Palmer versus Mickey Lolich. Games 2 and 3, Mike Cuellar McNally versus Bill Hands and Joe Coleman. The #2 and #3 starters of the Tigers have to flip-flop because Joe Coleman pitched in Game 6. Then after that day off, believe it or not, same script for Games 4, 5, and 6 if necessary. And then in Game 7, it's a wild one there. It'll be Milt Pappas versus Tom Timmerman if there's a Game 7. You like to think, or I'm sure both these teams seem to think, they don't want this thing to get to 7 games. But then you would imagine that both teams would completely empty their bullpens in a Game 7 with everything on the line and go to the World Series. Today, it is Game 1. We'll play you Game 1 from Detroit, and then after that, we'll pick up with the first elimination game, just like we did in the divisional round, until we get a result. Today's starting pitcher for Baltimore, yeah, it's going to be Jim Palmer, having a Cy Young year with a Cy Young card in '73. 22-9 with a .240 ERA. And for your Tigers, Mickey Lolich, not taking a backseat to Palmer by any stretch. 22-14 with a .250 ERA in 327 innings in 1972. Both are starter 9s. Both could pitch into extras. Both are probably not going to come out early in this one. Baltimore, Detroit, the cream of the crop, the best the carryover league at least has had to offer in this timeline now, stretching over 4 or 5 years. From 1968 Detroit Tigers beating the Cardinals, the '69 Orioles, all the way to where we're at now. Doesn't get any better. I hope that's enough fanfare, folks. Leading off for Baltimore will be Don Buford. 2-3, grounds the third. Bobby Grich, 64, short X. This is Tom Verizor, a 3E44 shortstop, makes the play. And Leroy Stanton, 5'11", second X. This is McAuliffe, 2E13, makes the play. Bottom of 1. Here is Dick McAuliffe, the second baseman. 210 flies to right. Al Kaline, 37, is a walk. Gates of hell. Gates Brown. 6-12 for the DH. Gets that stupid injury thing. Center C. So what we do in a championship game is we'll hit the point of weakness dots, but we'll see if Palmer can nurse whatever wrong with him through 4, maybe 5 innings, and then we'll pull him out, because I can't take out the pitcher in the first inning of a league championship series. Norm Cash, 54, a double off of Palmer. K-Line, 14 runner, 15-16, will take on that arm of Paul Blair, and he scores. Detroit gets a 1-0 lead. Willie Horton, 2-7 is a K. Boog Powell, 2-2, rounds to third. Paul Blair, 37, single 1 of 5, gets it. A Steeler. But the Tigers have freehand catching. As a matter of fact, he was in a platoon this year with John Stevenson. But it seems like the Tigers have made up their mind that it's Verizer's going to catch every day in this series against Baltimore, because Baltimore has speed. And yeah, Brooks Robinson doesn't care. He's on a hit and run anyway. And once again, the greatest hit and run hitter, it would seem, at least in this year, Mr. 5 on a hit and run. Brooks Robinson gets the hit and run single. That is 4 or 5 of them now in the last 8 games. Unbelievable. Runners in the corners, 1 out for Echebarren. 1-8 for Echebarren. Homer 1 of 4, fly ball to rest, and that is a sac fly. Baltimore's on the board. We're tied at 1. Earl Williams, 4-10. Skies to right. Got to remember to catch the dots on the Palmer card for the first 3, 4, or 5 innings, and then we'll take him out. Northrop, 69 left. Breiser, 59, second. And Bill Freehand, 36 is a K. Maybe he's got a bloody sock. I don't know. But he's not. Palmer laughed at the idea of coming out of this game. Bobby Wine, 65, second. Don Buford, 2-7 is a base hit for the B Steeler. Gritch walks a ton, so let's take a look at some pitches here. Bobby Gritch, 54. That's off of the Lolich card. It is Homer 1 to 18. He has power. It is gone, and Baltimore takes a road lead here, 3-1. Leroy Stanton, 39, single 1 of 5, gets it on a 1. Boog Powell, 53, right X, but this is K-Line, a 2-0 in right field. Makes the catch. And with 2 outs, it's Paul Blair. 1-2. Oh, and here is an injury. It's short A++ injury. Wasn't holding Stanton, just a ground out. And Baltimore, the injuries are starting to pile up here. They're going to have to put Al Bunbury in center field, which is fine. He's okay against lefties, but he crushes righties. It just doesn't field very well and is with his rookie card. So Al Bunbury has to replace Paul Blair in center field. 3-1, but Baltimore suffering some maladies in the field here. Can they hang in here in this game? Billy Grabarkowitz, 64 of Palmer is third X. This is Brooks, a 1E17 third baseman. And he boots the ball. A rare error in a somewhat of a bizarre start to this series. Dick McCullough, 412, center. Al Kaline, 1-7, double 1 of 12 is a double. Second and third, 1 out. The Orioles will play back for Gates Brown. Don't want to put any more hits on this card. 310, right B question mark. They're going to tag up Grabarkowitz here. 14, 15, 16, minus 3 arm. He's going to run anyway on a 13. He scores on 11. We got a 3-2 game. And with 2 outs, it's Norm Cash. 53, rolls to the pitcher. Palmer seems to really be favoring that leg now. As we go to the 4th, it's Brooks Robinson. 1-6, single 1 of 6, and he can't get it. Echebarren, 6-11. First X. Norm Cash is a 2E11. Makes the play. Earl Williams is designated hitter today with Echebarren catching. Pops to short. Bottom of the 4th. It'll be Willie Horton. 37 is a K. Northrup, 67, pops to second base. And Verizon, 39, grounds to short. And we're going to pull Palmer there after 4 with that bizarre injury note. So he doesn't really qualify for a win with an injury in the first inning. It's a 3-2 game. Palmer can't take it anymore. But technically, you know, based on that rule, he's supposed to come out in the first inning. We let him pitch 4. So in the 5th, it'll be Bobby Wine. 112 lines out. Don Buford, 52. Flies to right, and with 2 outs, it's Bobby Grich. 112 lines to third. Bottom of the 5th. Let's pause a moment for station identification.
This is the Shrimp Trawler video channel.
Este es el canal de videos de camaroneros.
Okay, so how can the Tigers foil the Orioles today? Is it because Jim Palmer has to come out? Is it because they go from a 1 center fielder to a 4 center fielder and get runs that way? Well, first step is a new pitcher, and it'll be Joel Horlin. Actually, let me double check this lineup again by the Tigers. Yeah, you have 1, 2, 3. You only have 4 lefties because they decided to sit Stevenson. Yeah, and you're not really going to get Gates Brown out. The only guy who can get Gates Brown out of this lineup is Grant Jackson. So they will go with Joel Horlin. Yeah, he will come on in the 5th inning. He did very well in the series against Oakland. And he will face Bill Freehan, leading off in the bottom of the 5th. Horlin was actually an Oakland A in 72 after a nice career with the White Sox prior to that. He's 3-4, the area 3 in 84 innings. Horlin. Freehan, 57 is a K. Billy Grabarkowitz, 1-5 is a walk. Dick McAuliffe, 2-7 is a walk. And it's Al Kaline, 46 off of the sky. Horlin is a single to center field, and there we go. We got a +2 arm of Bunbury. Grabarkowitz is going to run on a 16. And he scores, and McAuliffe should go to third. Let's double check. I know he won't. He'll stay at second. So it's a 3-3 tie. First and second, 1 out. It's Gates Brown. 64, short X. Bobby Wine, a 2E14 shortstop. It's a ground ball C. No double play. Matter of fact, they both move up. Second and third for Norm Cash. 58 is a K. 3-3 after 5. But Mickey Lolich isn't going anywhere unless you heard him. Leroy Stanton. 46. Single 1-6. Lines out. Hey, you're Boog Powell. 112. Grounds the third. And here is Al Bunbury. 311 is hit by the pitch. A stealer. Oh, let's try a stolen base. Oh, let's get thrown out. Okay. Well, bottom of the 6th inning, a 3-3 game. Strange game, but yeah, exciting. Willie Horton, 56 is the K. Jim Northrup, 49, second X. Grich is a 1E20 second baseman. He makes an error. We've had an injury to a pitcher, an injury to an outfielder, a Brooks Robinson error, and a Bobby Grich error. 2 Gold Glove infielders. And yet Baltimore's still in this thing. 3-3. Tom Verizon. 5-10 is a walk. Bill Freehan. 3-10 is a sky to center, and with 2 outs, it's Billy Grabarkowitz. 5-10 is another walk. Bases loaded, 2 outs for Dick McAuliffe. Nerl Weaver is between a rock and a hard place here. You know something? I think they're going to go for this. They are going to yank Horlin. He's not broken, but they want to get a better pitcher in there. They're going to yank Horlin in a 3-3 tie. Baltimore trying to think they can win this thing and go with Bill Wilson. When you take a look at Bill Wilson, you see how great he is against left-handed batters. As we get to the top of the Tiger lineup here with Gates Brown and Norm Cash coming up. So Bill Wilson will come on in the 6th inning, trying to get the final out and face Dick McAuliffe. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Here is the pitch. 1-10, it's Dick McAuliffe comes through with a base hit in the center field. That scores Northrop. Verizon is a 12-runner. Again, it's the center field where Al Bumbry's taking over. He'll run and he'll score. Getting runs off of Horland's pitching woes and Bumbry's throwing woes. That's a 2-run single. And Grabarkowitz, this is what you do. You got to exploit the foibles of your opponent. If your opponent has misfortune, you got to find that weakness and attack it. And that's what they did. Tigers grab a 5-3 lead. Grabarkowitz goes to third on the throw to the plate. Runners on the corners for Al Kaline. 1-9 for Kaline. Homer 1, fly ball the rest, and that is fly ball the rest. So the Tigers take a 5-3 lead into the 7th. It'll be Brooks Robinson. 1-5's a base hit. Number 7 hitter, Andy Etchebarren. 45 is a sky to center. Earl Williams. 39 is a fly to left. And with 2 outs, it's Bobby Wine. 1-9 pops to short. Okay, stretch time in Detroit. We are enjoying Stevie Wonder from 74 last year in the timeline. We're going with Fulfilling This. First finale, Boogie on Reggae Woman, the big hit off this one. Great LP. You haven't done nothing. Right in the middle of that 4 amazing records in a row there with Intervisions, Talking Book, Key of Life. This is probably one of the most underrated ones in that. Okay. Bottom of the 7th. Bill Wilson will continue against Gates Brown. 35 is a fly ball to center. Norm Cash, 1-9's a walk. Willie Horton, here's a who, 59, second C. And with 2 outs, it's Jim Northrop. 1-5, flies to center field. 5-3 into the 8th. Tigers could add some defense. They're going to put Mickey Stanley out in center field. And, well, Gates Brown will come out because they figure he would probably face Grant Jackson anyway. They're not going to let Gates Brown bat in a meaningful moment. Baltimore's too smart for that. So Stanley will take over in center field. That's the only change. And Northrop goes to left. Horton goes to DH. We're in the 8th inning. And Lolich is sailing along here. Had a hit and run single in that one, and Gritch hit a homer off his card. In the 8th we are. Don Buford. 4-10, flies to right. Bobby Gritch, 33, grounds to third, and with 2 outs, it is Leroy Stanton. 64, short X, this is Verizon. 3 shortstop, and he's made another play. Much maligned Tiger left side of the infield. There's no Ed Brinkman. There's no Aurelio Rodriguez. They decided not to go with those guys and go with them more offense. Verizon and Grabarkowitz get on base and hit more homers, so seems to work. They got to the World Series and the League Championship today without those 2 defensive players. 8th inning, 3 straight righties. And Baltimore's going to conserve their bullpen a little bit. They'll go Bob Reynolds here in the 8th as a relief 4. They don't want to overwork anybody where they had to come on for 4 or 5 innings of relief. So it'll be Bob Reynolds with a 1.90 ERA. My goodness. 186. Baltimore probably has the best bullpen in baseball. And they probably have the best starting pitching in baseball, which means they probably have the best pitching staff in baseball. Yeah, that's right. Starting pitching and relief. If they have the best starting pitching and best relief pitching, they probably have the best pitching. That's probably what's going on here. Bottom of the 8th, it'll be Tom Verizon leading off. 69, center. Bill Freehan, 48, is a walk. Billy Grabarkowitz, 59, second C. And with a runner at second and 2 outs, back up top to Dick McAuliffe with a big single with 2 outs in the 6th inning. That is the difference to this point. 1-7 McAuliffe again. Double 1 of 4 is a double. Dick McAuliffe. Sometimes he gets forgotten, but very much a part of the Tigers from 68 through 74. McAuliffe and Kaline and Cash and Horton and Northrup and Freehand and Lolich. No Denny McClain anymore, but you have John Hiller and yeah. RBI double. That it makes it a 6-3 game. Al Kaline, 66 is a K. We go to the 9th, it's 6-3, and Lolich wants a CG. Boog Powell, 2-3, rounds the first. Bumbry, 49, second X. McAuliffe is a 2E14. No, he's a 2E13. Makes the play. By the way, this was supposed to be here for Bumbry. I made a mistake there. There we go. And with 2 outs, it is Brooks Robinson. And Brooksy 410, center. Well, this game seemed to be over early when Jim Palmer got knocked out, or got hurt in the first inning. You knew the storm clouds were brewing. An early lead just would not last for Baltimore. And the Tigers defend home field. Veteran, savvy team. Hard to beat these guys. Mickey Lolich, another Game 1 series win in his long career. He beats Jim Palmer. Actually, he'll beat Joe Horland. Takes the loss in this one in the middle innings. By a score of 6-3. We'll take a break and we'll be back with the next deciding game in this series. All right, baseball fans, here's your box score from the Game 1 victory by the Tigers at home. Lolich, complete game, 6 hits and 3 runs. And Baltimore, Orioles put 7 men on in this game, and the Tigers put 12 on. Tigers had 6 runs on 5 hits. And, you know, you walk a guy here, a guy reaches on an error and scores there, a guy reaches on an error there. Brooks Robinson makes an error, they score. Bobby Grich makes an error, they score. Paul Blair gets hurt, the replacement center fielder, 2 guys run off of him, and Jim Palmer gets knocked out through 4 innings. All in all, not a bad game for Baltimore, just to lose 6-3 when it was actually a catastrophe. So, can they get a win in Game 2? This was originally going to be called the Tom Verizor game, and I'll explain. So, Tom Verizor is the 3 E44 shortstop. If you're wondering if that's good or bad, oh, it's bad, based on my league. You know, to win a World Series, you usually need like a Bud Harrelson, a Mark Belanger, a Larry Boa, an Alan Trammell, a Cal Ripken, a Bert Campaneris, perhaps, a Dave Concepcion. You really need a 1 or 2 shortstop. But top of the first inning, after a single, ground ball X to Verizor, double play ball. He gobbles it up. Second inning, a single, ground ball to Verizor, he kicks it for an error. Then a ground ball to Verizor, he kicks it for an error. Then with 2 outs, ground ball to Verizor, he makes the play. Baltimore doesn't score. See what I mean? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how good or bad your shortstop is. Double play ground out off of Billy Grabarkowitz, the third baseman, 2E14. Where we have another ground out to end the game. Enough of that. This was the X game, too, for Cuellar. Everything the Tigers got off of the Cuellar card was an X in this one. The scoring began in the third inning. Tom Verizor doubled, and then Jerry Terrell singled, and Billy Grabarkowitz got a single, and then there was a throwing error in there by Earl Williams, and it's 2-0. Then Cuellar makes an error because he's an X on his card. Tigers get another run. It's 3 runs there. To the Orioles' credit, Earl Williams gets a homer, and then Boog Powell gets a 2-run homer in the 6th inning and tie this thing up. Cuellar made another error in the bottom of the 6th. Just a really bizarre, strange Baltimore defensive thing where their great defense is shaky and the poorly rated Tiger defense is holding up, and even when it makes errors, they don't hurt. So, 8th inning, this is where it changes. Bill Hands has to come out after 7. They go to Fred Sherman, the lefty, to face Earl Williams, Boog Powell, and Bobby Grich. But Grich gets an RBI single, makes it a 4-3 lead. Then in the 9th inning, George Culver comes in. Don Buford hits a homer off his card. And the Orioles, yes, ladies and gentlemen, they get this win 5-3. Interestingly, Cuellar leaves after 7 as well. And believe it or not, Joel Horlin and Bill Wilson are brought in. On the Tigers bench, they had McAuliffe, Stevenson, and Gates Brown, 3 lefties. And the whole key to Baltimore's chances in this league championship series is to not let Gates Brown beat them. So once they got a 2-run lead in the 9th, then it was okay for Gates Brown to pinch hit against them, and he struck out. So far, Gates Brown hasn't done anything for the Tigers, yet it's a split. Baltimore does get the Game 2 victory and a 5-3 victory. What happens in Game 3? We go to Baltimore for Game 3, and it's going to be Joe Coleman against Dave McNally, who's pitched brilliantly this year. Until today, this time, it was almost destiny. Dave McNally, who's like 8-1 or something ridiculous, he finally gets lit up, ladies and gentlemen. For the first time in a very, very, very long time, Dave McNally has a terrible time in the first inning. Grabarkowitz double, Stanley single, 3-run homer, Willie Horton. Then after an out, they start right back up with a walk to Terrell, a single, a walk to Freehand, a single by Terrell, a single by Northrup, and it's 4-0. Meanwhile, Joe Coleman is just sailing along here. 5th inning, we get a solo shot Freehand. 6th inning, a solo shot Al Kaline, and it just seems eerily like the Tigers are just playing with the Orioles in this series. It's just, I know that Orioles got a win, but the Tigers are really, playing, getting more breaks and getting more runs. The Orioles get a run in the 6th on a sac fly. They added 2 more in the 9th. But Joe Coleman needed John Hiller to come on in to get the final out and a save. Joe Coleman, 8 2/3, 9 hits and 3 runs. McNally, the 7 innings, 9 hits and 6 runs, 4 in the first. So once again, a back and forth series. Tigers win Game 1, Orioles 2. Tigers win Game 3. They've reacquired home field as we go to Game 4 in Baltimore, Game 4 and Game 5. After a day off, back to Game 1 starters. Jim Palmer, Mickey Lolich. So this is how this goes. First inning, K-Line gets a triple off the Palmer card. 2 outs, Norm Cash gets the clutch hit single, 1-0. And that's how the game will sail along until the 9th. When in the 9th inning, who led off in the 9th here? Oh yeah, it was an out. It was a Willie Horton homer to make it 2-0. 2 outs, then Palmer walks a batter. Then Palmer walks a batter, so they take him out because he hit his point of weakness. Then Grant Jackson gives up a single to make it 3-0. And then Grant Jackson serves up a triple to Dick McAuliffe to clean off the bases to make it 6-0 in an embarrassing effort by the Orioles. And old Mickey Lolich says, oh, you want me to throw a complete game shutout? I got a 6-run lead. And we're like, yeah, go back out there for the 9th. A pop out, Bobby Grich flies out, Don Buford strikes out. So an easy 6-0 yawner by the Tigers. Mickey Lolich, another complete game victory. Obviously, one of the biggest big game pitchers in Strat-O-Matic. He's outdone, you name him. He's outpitched Gibson. In my Strat-O-Matic league, in these playoffs and World Series efforts, he's been better than Seaver, better than Marichal, better than Carlton, better than Catfish Hunter, better than Vita Blue, better than Jim Palmer, obviously. Mickey Lolich is at the top of the resume here of big game pitchers. So it's crazy, folks. It's like the 68 Lolich in Game 7 has been pitching that way for 5 years now. So Detroit wins Game 4 6-0, and we're going to pick up in Game 5 in Baltimore. Not on our field is what they always like to say. Like, don't beat us home. At least let us get on an airplane and fly to Detroit and see what happens. We're back to Bill Hands versus Mike Cuellar in a Game 5. And the Orioles have gotten some runs in this one. Al Bunbury RBI single in the first. A solo homer by Boog Powell. A big 2-out single by much maligned Tom Chopay, who frankly is on the roster because most of the Oriole extra players were stolen away by the other teams in the expansion league. They like to rob the Orioles, And so Shohei gets playing time in Baltimore. And Mr. Cuellar has 6 shutout innings. Though, of course, he walks guys. Not a big deal. So Baltimore, they have a 3-0 lead here in the 7th inning, top of, trying to send us back to Detroit. Leading off in the top of the 7th, Tom Verizor. 2-8, walk. Back up top to Grabarkowitz. 1-8 K. Out K-line, 56. Short X, this is Bobby Wine. The 2E14 shortstop, and that's double play ball. And though all Oriole fans are on their feet, they've been sitting on their hands for 2 days watching their team crumble. Holding out hope they can rip off 3 straight against the Tigers. We are enjoying Crack the Skies live at the Warner Theater. Collection of stuff from the first couple albums performed in Washington, D.C. at the Warner Theater here. Maybe I could fool everybody tonight. Crack the Sky, often played on the radio in Maryland. During this timeline, bottom of the 7th, Bill Hams will go back out there. He is a starter 8, actually. It'll be Buford. 45, flies to left. Brooks Robinson, 2-8, double 1 at 10's a 2-base hit. Al Bunbury, 1-7, triple 1 at 19 is a triple, and Baltimore has a 4-0 lead. Earl Williams, 1-7. Let's take a look at the Earl Williams card. 33 home runs. That is gone. And they are getting out their frustrations here in Game 5. Boog Powell, 65, triple 1 to 4 double. Bobby Grich, 67, double 1 to 2. Oh, we've seen enough. We thought, you know, hands could at least get you through 7. The rest of the bullpen. But Baltimore had other plans. They're going to have to go Steve Keeley here to get this game over with. Gotta tell you, folks, this series has been kind of a dud. All the margins have been by at least 3 runs. A 6-run game and now a 7-run game. So 6 in the 3rd. And now we have Steve Keeley in the 7th. We'll face Leroy Stanton for the injured, again, Paul Blair. 68 is a single to center field. There's nobody to score. 2 on, 1 out for Shohei. 2 10's a K, and batting ninth, Bobby Wine, 43, left X. Northrup is a 2E6 in left field. He makes the catch. All right, Cuellar. 7-0 game. Why not save your bullpen for 2 must-wins in Detroit in 6 and 7? So Cuellar will continue. Mickey Stanley singles. Willie Horton, 64, walks. Norm Cash, 49, walks. And just like that, Cuellar, in a 7-0 game, walks 2 batters. So much for saving the bullpen. He's gone. 7-3 batters in a 7-0 affair. And Joe Horlin has his number called yet again. If you're wondering if Joe Horlin's pitching a lot in this series, he has. And maybe that's a bad thing. And maybe that's why Detroit's up 3-1. But they're saving Reynolds and Jackson when it matters. So Bill Wilson will face Bill Freehan. Bases loaded, no out, playing back. Here's the pitch. 37's a K. Jerry Terrell. If you pitch hit Gates Brown now, you know they're going to go right to Grant Jackson. So they'll let Terrell bat. It's 7-0. 1-9, well, base hit. It's 7-1. Jim Northrup playing back. 2-7, base hit, 7-2. These games just never seem to end. 7-2. Verizor, bases loaded. 56 is a K. That's 2 outs. And back up top to Grabarkowitz. 47, that's a base hit to right field. 1 run scores. Terrell could run. 14, 15, 16, minus 3 run. He's going to run anyway to make it a 3-run game, and he's out on a 14. Big moment there, but you're way behind in the game, and you had to take a chance there. It's 14 plus 2 is 16, but believe it or not, Leroy Stanton was brought in because of the Blair injury. Shohei went to center, making it a 13 shot. He gets thrown out on a 19. So only one of those guys will score. It stays 7-3, and the inning is over. And if you're wondering, since you guys tuned in what the batting average is, well, let's see. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of 18 men have reached since you guys have tuned in this game. Steve Keeley continues, and it's Don Buford. 1-8, grounds to second. Brooks Robinson, 1-6, a base hit. Bumbry, 44, center X. Stanley's a 1-5. And with 2 outs, Earl Williams. 37's a walk. 2 on 2 outs for Powell. Homer on a 4 fly ball. Homer on a 4. Is this thing over yet? I don't know. It's 10-3. Bobby Grich. 1-6 is a walk. Leroy Stanton again. 4-7 is a K. All right, Horland will leave after one almost disastrous inning, and now Bill Wilson will come in another non-competitive, disappointing league championship game. Al Kaline. 6'11", pitcher X. Bill Wilson is an E24. That's not any good. But he makes the play. Mickey Stanley, 2-9, single and a 5. Gets it. Willie Horton, 1-5, 2-run homer. 10-4, 10-5. Norm Cash, 34, center. And Bill Freehan, 63, grounder to short. He's a 2E14, and there's your ball game. Well, now that that's over with, we can go to Detroit for Game 6. So Baltimore does indeed get a win. Took them 3 tries to get a win at home. They got it. It is a 10-5 final. I hope they have some of this offense to use in Detroit. Game 6, well, it's going to be Dave McNally versus Joe Coleman. This didn't go over very well last time. Joe Coleman beat McNally, and their Tigers want that to happen again. If Baltimore can win Game 6, it's up for grabs in a Game 7, because it'll be Tom Timmerman versus Milt Pappas. So we'll be back with Game 6. All right, folks, here's the debacle from Game 5. Baltimore winning 10-5 at home. Cuellar going 7 innings for the win. Orioles put 19 men on base in this one. Tigers put 17 men on base in this one. With errors helping and, yeah, whatever. Baltimore gets the 10-5 win. So the series goes to Detroit for 6 and Game 7 if necessary. Let's take you right there and show you what's happened. Game 6, here we are. It is Dave McNally against Joe Coleman. McNally had a terrible first inning last time, and Coleman sailed along. What would happen this time? Well, a little bit better, closer for the Orioles at least. Bottom of the first, Grabarkowitz reaches on a Boog Powell error, but a ground ball X to Bobby Grich is a double play, a ground ball X to Brooks Robinson is an out. But again, it's X, X, and X off of the pitcher cards of Baltimore. They just can't seem to get the automatic outs. Bill Freehan, solo shot. And write these names down again, folks. Tom Bereiser, the Tiger shortstop, and Billy Grabarkowitz, the Tiger third baseman, the clear replacements of Aurelio Rodriguez and Ed Brinkman, come through with back-to-back doubles. It is 2-0 Detroit, and Joe Coleman is sailing along. So far, Mickey Lolich and Joe Coleman have pitched to every Baltimore hitter except for one and can win all 4 of the games. Lolich has 2 wins. Joe Coleman is looking for his 2nd win. John Hiller pitched the final out of Joe Coleman's last start. It is 2-0 Tigers. They are 9 outs away from going to the World Series against the listless Orioles. Here in the top of the 7th, we'll pick it up. Baltimore, Dave McNally and Joe Coleman still in there. And it'll be Earl Williams leading off. 38 for Earl Williams is single, 1-17, and he gets it. The tie run is Boog Powell. 1-6 is a walk, and here comes Baltimore. Coleman's a starter 9. He isn't going anywhere. Bobby Grich. 2-8. Let's take a look at the Bobby Grich card. He is suddenly awoken finally in this series. 1974 Grich. I think he got a Gold Glove. He's a 1E20. 19 homers, 90 walks, and a 263 average. Eventually gets to the All-Star game in 76 for the Orioles. Ends up on the Angels soon thereafter. 2-8, 111 is single ... and just like that, as soon as we turn on the tube on YouTube for you guys, Baltimore wakens here. It's 2-1. Runners on the corners. They're going to bring it up for A. Bunting, Paul Blair. 57. That's a strikeout. You got A1. This is a perfect scenario. 1 out. A. Bunting, Bobby Wine. I just don't like the bunt to tie. To take the lead, I'd do a squeeze. I really would, folks. I'd call for the squeeze. Not the tie game, though. Not the tie game. To take a lead, yeah. So Bobby Wine will swing away with the infield up and 1 out. You can still get a plus here. 46, or you can get a single chance off Joe Coleman's card. It is single 1 to 10, and he gets the single. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Bobby Wine, the 200 hitter, just got a single off the Joe Coleman card, who suddenly, after this brilliance of pitching by Lolich and Coleman, as this is the first bad inning by either of these guys, that ties the game. Oh boy, folks, you turn on YouTube and suddenly you just get offense. It's really weird. All right, so Gritch is at second on the single dot. You have 2 on, 1 out. Coleman's still in there. He'll face Leroy Stanton. 65 is short X. Here's Verizon. This should be a double play. He's at 344. Well, it's a fielder's choice. Close. All right, runners on the corners. And it's Don Buford. 67 and a strikeout. And yeah, Tom Verizer's defense helped the Tigers get out of the inning without giving up any more damage. Just going to show you that for at least this Tiger team, defense doesn't matter a whole lot. Stretch time in Detroit of what has turned into a tight 2-2 affair. We are enjoying another Stevie Wonder masterpiece, Music of My Mind from 1972. Great LP, just before You Are the Sunshine of My Life came out a year later with Talking Book. But what a great LP this one is, folks. Outstanding. Happier than the morning suns on this one. All right. Bottom of the 7th. Can Dave McNally keep his beloved Orioles in this thing? It'll be Jim Northrup. 110. Grounds the third. Tom Verizon. 69. Skies out. And Billy Grabarkowitz. 67 is a liner to short. And if you're wondering, folks, just so I'm completely transparent here, Tom Verizon hit 236, and Billy Grabarkowitz hit 225. Doesn't seem to really matter, though, does it? Top of the 8th, it's 2-2. Baltimore. Can they actually tie this series and rip off 2 straight wins and force a Game 7? Coleman is still not going anywhere. That's how much faith. It's Lolich and Coleman are basically untouchable. The bullpen just falls asleep. When Bill Hands or Tom Timmerman after pitch, the bullpen's up all night. So Coleman will pitch through to the 9th unless there's a unexpected point of weakness here in the 8th. Brooks Robinson will lead it off for Baltimore. 68, a strikeout. Al Bunbury. 1-9 is a base hit. He's an ace stealer, but you got a -2 arm catcher, and you got a guy with 33 home runs stepping into the box. Earl Williams. Here's the pitch to Earl. 1-6, he misses the home run by 1 roll and strikes out. And with 2 outs, it's Boog Powell. Again, a guy with a ton of home runs and a ton of walks. He will swing away. 57 and a strikeout by Joe Coleman. Gets through 8. Now, McNally. He has not thrown a complete game all year for Baltimore. He's a starter 7. And again, Gates Brown is stranded on the bench for Detroit, and that's by design, with Cuellar and McNally pitching 4 games in this series. And they're going to let McNally continue. Al Kaline. 67, lines the short. Mickey Stanley, 1-4, flies to left. And the dangerous Willie Horton, here's Ahoo! 2-9, grounds to short. We'll go to the 9th. This is Coleman's breaking inning, but he could go 10. He's a starter 9. Bobby Gritch will lead off in the 9th for Baltimore. 111 bounces to short. Paul Blair. 2-9 strikes out, and with 2 outs, it is Bobby Wine. What do you do here? Do you really need this defense anymore at short? By the way, Coleman's got homer 1 on his card, so you're not going to get a homer off of his card. You know what? Bobby Wine actually has a homer on his card, believe it or not, so we're going to let him bat. Pitch to Bobby Wine. 37, yeah, it's strikeout. Nobody's getting on that roll. Bottom of the 9th. Oh, poor Dave McNally will continue because you do have Cash and potentially Northrup up in this frame. McNally cannot go 10. He's asked to go 9. Baltimore's got a great bullpen, but yeah. Norm Cash. Here's the pitch. 2-8! Norm Cash! 2-8! We gotta look out the card for Norm Cash! It is homer. 1-17. Fly ball. The rest, it is gone. And Norm Cash has sent the Detroit Tigers back to the World Series for the 3rd time in 5 years, beating the Orioles. The 71 Orioles do not go to the World Series as the Tigers have their number. Joe Coleman beats Dave McNally for the 2nd time in 4 days. The Tigers beat the Orioles 4-2. And we'll go right to the box. Wow. Norm Cash went to the 71 All-Star game, played in Detroit. And now the World Series we played in Detroit. It's the year of Norm Cash. Joe Coleman, let's give him his props. 9 innings, 8 hits, the 2 runs in the 7th inning, then nothing after that. 1 walk, 12 strikeouts, and a complete game. Mickey Lolich and Joe Coleman outpitched Palmer, Cuellar, and McNally. And there you are. And you very seldom see the Orioles get outpitched, but that's what happened in this series. Particularly after the scary Gates Brown does nothing in this series. He went 0 for the League Championship Series. The .338 bat of Gates Brown that was so scary to the Orioles. And it was these other guys for the Tigers that did them in. McNally, 7 hits, the 3 runs. He couldn't keep the ball in the park against Bill Freehan and Norm Cash, plus the doubles by Verizor Grabarkowitz. A walk and 2 strikeouts. McNally does get a complete game in heartbreaking fashion. 1009, 0108, 3728. 112, 1-2, 1-2, 112. Baltimore struck out 12 times, Detroit twice. Detroit, 8 guys reached, Baltimore had 9 guys reach. And that's the box for Game 6. We do not get the drama of a Game 7. Kind of a pretty lackluster series. Unless you're a Tigers fan, when they were seemed like in control the whole time. We are kind of rewriting history a little bit in the carryover league, as we are suggesting, or at least putting it in there, that the Tigers had a longer run in them after 68 than was demonstrated, if and only if you get them out of the division that the Orioles are in, so that they can win their own division, along with Cleveland, the Expos, and an expansion team. Tigers are 30-14, Baltimore 28-19. Wow. So Detroit wins 4-2. They're 30-14, and Baltimore is, what was that record for Baltimore? 28-19. Well, that's not the best news for the Orioles, because they're just getting older here. And it's funny to say something like that, as if the Tigers aren't. Tigers are getting older than the Orioles. But MLB history would suggest that Baltimore's last World Series appearance would be in '71, and then the Oakland A's take over the American League. We know the Tigers win the East in '72, when Baltimore's offense was horrendous. And that's how the Tigers got into the League Championship Series. So, the Tigers will host the World Series, 16 games over 500. against either the Phillies or Pirates. To be determined. Wow. We'll take a look at the stats. And then Baltimore, 28-19. It was a comeback year. They had an easier schedule than the previous year. The problem with Baltimore is that they get their roster rated often, and they don't get to keep all their guys because they're perpetually in the playoffs, and they get a low draft pick, and then, you know, guys like Mark Belanger aren't here, Don Baylor's not here, Merv Retman is not here, just to name a few guys. But, you know, it was a really good year. 257, 268 ERA. Brooks Robinson really had a great year. 59 for 188 with that 71 card. That might be his last really good card. Brooks Robinson at 314 this year. Palmer 9-6, Cuellar 7-5, Dave McNally 8-3, but 2 of those 3 losses you just saw to the Detroit Tigers, here and now. And that's how Baltimore's season will end. The Tigers are going to roll into the World Series for the 3rd time in 5 years. They beat the Dodgers in the World Series 4 years ago. They lost to the New York Mets 2 years ago. It's like every other year they're in the World Series. Mickey Lolich 11-2, 9 complete games. Joe Coleman 9-4, just 1 complete game. We'll give you their ERAs. Lolich, oops. Okay. A 2.53 ERA for Lolich. And Coleman has not really had that great a year, but he did against Baltimore. 3.73 ERA. Lolich and Coleman 4-0 and pitched 35 2/3 of 36 innings. John Hiller just had 1 appearance in a 6-game series. Wasn't even needed. Got the final out in that 1 win. Baltimore won the starts that Bill Hands had. If you really want to beat the Tigers, you really have to beat Bill Hands and Tom Timmerman, the 3 and 4 guys. They're much weaker than everybody else's 3 and 4. Offensively, you got Willie Horton with 15 homer and 40 RBI. He's 52 for 173. Stay out of that box for a moment. Hitting 301. If you're wondering about Gates Brown, he only has 87 plate appearances this year because teams just do not want to pitch to that guy. Gates is 27 for 87, which is okay. He's hitting 310. 6 homer, 21 RBI. Tigers have scored 220 runs, given up 165, 30-16. The first team to 30 wins, a team that's 16 games over 500. They're going to the World Series. Baltimore finishes 9 over, A's 7 over. You could argue the Orioles and A's were the best teams in this timeline, but the Detroit advantage is that, again, I got to say it, those 68 Tiger players, they age well. They're all in their 32, 33, 34. I don't know how old Norm Cash is, but he just won the league championship series for Detroit. In the National League, the Pirates will face the Phillies. If the Pirates get to the World Series, they won't have a record as good as Detroit, but they'll have a better roster for what that's worth. So, yeah, it would seem that the Pirates would have, at least on the cards, they would have an advantage over the Tigers in the World Series. Of course, it would be on the road, as the Tigers have home field. That's it tonight. We'll go to the National League Championship Series next time. Break up the Detroit Tigers. They had very little problem with Baltimore. They win this series 4-2 to advance to the World Series for the 3rd time in 5 years. Unbelievable. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you next time.